Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. We love that song, I believe. If some of you saw, they might try to get the pictures of the kids up there. We'll figure that out. But believing is why we're here. We are here because Greg Darniter believed in a team of people when they brought us to, and Eric Waldo believed in us when they brought us to the listening and learning conversation in the White House. They believed in us when they asked us would we be part of the team. San Diego State, Dean Johnson and President Hirschman believed in us when we offered to do it. And you believed because you decided to come. And in believing in what all children deserve to receive is why we're here. And if we just stay focused on what the students deserve to receive, then we're doing it all for the right reasons. So we welcome you back and we thank you for being here.
Good morning. We wanted to let you know, so many of you were asking yesterday, you wanted the PowerPoints already, you wanted the information, and if you go on the website and you click on Agenda now, underneath every session that happened yesterday, you have access to all the PowerPoints. Also, there's a draft version of all the discussions that happened during the roundtable. I don't have all of them. I had 17 of the roundtable discussions that were emailed last night, so I really want to encourage you, if you did a roundtable discussion and someone took notes from that discussion, please email them to us. The email is on the bottom of the form. We'd love to get that and be able to put that in the report, and we'll add the ones from today, and I think that'll be a wonderful document for all of us to use and all of us to reference. So we want to thank you for all the work yesterday that you did. We've got another exciting day, and I think it's going to be a really great day. We're ready to jump into our agenda for the day, and so with that, we'll have Dr. Estrada come up and
Dr. Nola Butler-Bird, come up to the podium, please.
Yes.
And they'll welcome you officially this morning.
Good morning. I have the great honor to work alongside those two celebrity superstars. And there's no slowing them down. For example, yesterday during the roundtable session, I overheard Dr. Owen talking to other folks about their new project. Something about a script to a reality TV series called The Real Husbands of School Counselors. I think it would be an instant hit, kind of like the song produced by Hip Hop Hatch. And if you don't know that, Google that on YouTube. I was going to ask Eric, maybe Hatch had some involvement in Michelle Obama's Turn Up video. Speaking of Turn Up, I want to kind of talk to you about the things that we've been doing here to fulfill our commitment to reach higher. The Center for Excellence on School Counseling Leadership and the Division of Research on Young Men and Women of Color collaborated with the Minority Male Community College Collaborative here to team up to create the ASTIC Research Mentorship Program. Dr. Frank Harris, Dr. Luke Wood, Dr. Reggie Blaylock, and myself were awarded the San Diego State President Leadership Fund to implement this program. This program promotes retention and student success in higher education and beyond for historically underrepresented students of color. This year-long scholar program provides opportunity for fellows to participate in undergraduate research through innovative courses, experience, engagement activities, where students can conduct research on topics of their particular interests. The students always ask, what do we research? And the first question that I ask my graduate students every time in the program is, what is your why? So I tell these young undergraduate students, research your why. And they always ask me, what does that mean? What is your purpose? Why are you here? Why do you want to continue in this particular field or whatever particular field of interest you have? And so they always turn back the question to me, well, what is your why, Dr. Estrada? And me being a person of numbers, I'll share a little bit of my story. 91331. Most of you will think, well, what is that? What's that number about? Well, it's not my correctional department code number. But it is my zip code. And a lot of times, people look at it as a zip code of shame. I come from an impoverished social enclave filled with drugs, gangs, and violence. And education was my outlet that saved my life. And so now all of my work is around creating safe school environments. Safe school environments where youth do not have to focus or deal with the violence that's going on in their activities all day at school. And so the students ask me, wow, that's a powerful why. Can I research anything I want? And I say, yeah. Really? I could research nightclubs in Thailand? Well, let's calm it down a little bit. Yeah, but they're open and they're engaged in different research activities. And what we do with the program is we connect them each week with a new faculty member of color. We have them read articles about that faculty member of color, and we Skype that person in so they can have a Q&A session with that faculty member of color. They also participate in a seminar using critical race theory to analyze articles that the faculty members of color have written. The tangible product that will be produced are 2 manuscripts. These undergraduate students will produce 2 manuscripts and peer-reviewed journal articles and also propose a presentation at a research conference. Some of the work that our fellows have done, and these are their whys, is research practice among community college counselors working with men of color, researching early alert programs and male minority initiatives across the country to help develop a taxonomy of programs, developing structure equation models to investigate outcomes for veteran men of color in community college, researching the experience of transborder community college for men of color, developing a survey instrument to identify factors that influence men of color who leave community college without completing their goals, identifying men of color who have successfully transferred from community college to a 4-year university and inviting them to talk about their narratives of success, building a Twitter handle to connect with all community colleges nationwide via social media, evaluating a program called Project Aware, which is an 8-week group curriculum that teaches emotional literacy skills to high-need students to reduce violence so they can focus on academic achievement, evaluating a 14-week community intervention worker program to train, educate, and empower former gang members and previously incarcerated individuals with the tools to mitigate risk factors that contribute to violence so those students can focus on academic achievement. The program facilitates scholarship interactions between fellows and faculty members with the goal to create affirming environments that foster healthy social dispositions and belong and among fellows to create retention and college graduation rates for historically underrepresented students of color. This is one of the commitments that we have made here at San Diego State to reach higher. Thank you. Now I have the great pleasure to introduce our department chair, Nola Butler-Beard. And in deciding to come to San Diego State, it was because of the culture of our particular department and how we felt like a family. As a young scholar coming into a large university, you want to be respected for the work that you do. And the faculty members in our department are very respectful, and they respected me coming in initially and allowed me to do some of the work. And that's been because NOLA has provided that type of culture and environment where we feel safe, we feel connected, we feel like a family. NOLA has worked most of her life on social justice advocacy and multicultural competency educator and counselor in schools and communities focused on well-being and community building. She is currently the department chair of the counseling and school psychology here at San Diego State, associate professor of the community-based block multicultural counseling and social justice education program, chair of the San Diego State University Senate Diversity, Equity, and Outreach Committee, immediate past president of San Diego Chapter Association of Black Psychologists, and trustee advisor board member to San Diego Community College District. Welcome, Nola Butler-Beard.
Good morning and welcome to day 2. I'd like to thank President Hirschman, our new provost and senior vice president, Chukuka Nwemeka, who sends his regrets because he couldn't be with us during this convening because he had a prior commitment out of the country. Our wonderful Dean, Joe Johnson, who's standing in the back of the room. Without their support, we wouldn't be here today. But I also really want to thank my wonderful colleagues like Joey, for being with us and hanging with us through some tough times. For over 40 years, the Department of Counseling and School Psychology has been dedicated to social justice and multicultural competency in our teaching, research, and advocacy. And I'm really proud to be a part of it. In addition to our fabulous school counseling program, which you've had a good sample of, we also have our nationally recognized school psychology program, our marriage and family therapy program, our innovative social justice community counseling program, the community-based block, and our undergraduate minor in counseling and social change. I'd like to give a special acknowledgement to all of our faculty, some of whom are here today participating in this convening, and those who couldn't join us today as well. Their support and encouragement of our school counseling faculty and program helped us all to be able to develop this convening. I'd also really like to thank our school counseling students who volunteered to support this convening, many of whom haven't had much sleep over the past couple of days. Last year, I was feeling pretty discouraged. I admit it, because of the ongoing recurrent waves of economic instability we've been facing over the past few years. We've suffered many losses, including faculty, increased enrollments, et cetera, due to our serious budget cuts. However, there was a glimmer of hope. Thank goodness there are forces greater than us at work. Last year at this time, social justice advocate and school counselor educator Joey, which you just met, had graciously agreed to direct the school counseling program on top of all of the work that he's already articulated to you, so that our wonderful Trish Hatch could have a well-deserved sabbatical. We would periodically receive news of Trish on adventures around the world, like in Greece or with her grandchildren, getting some well-deserved R&R. Little did we know that this convening would manifest out of all of that. And that wasn't enough either, because on top of that, she went to Nigeria, and now we're developing a fabulous relationship over there. Also at this time, we were gearing up to invite Laura Owen to join us for an interview, because finally we had some faculty searches, a miracle. And luckily that resulted in her joining our department. Laura, you never cease to amaze me. I don't see how you've even had a chance to get unpacked. She's been so busy and working so hard to make all of this happen. The successes that have occurred over the past couple of months have helped revitalize me, and I sense that they are revitalizing everyone here. I hope we can use this renewed energy to continue to work to build collaborations across all of the disciplines, including mental health, because I feel like sometimes it still kind of drifts to the side, and we need it in order to be able to achieve all of these goals, especially these important goals related to developing career and college readiness. I also hope that we remember, in addition to working towards college and career readiness for all students, that the advocacy that has historically always been a part of counseling is also seriously needed to address the ongoing income disparities in this country that make it difficult for people to find adequate employment to care for their families. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this convening. I want to leave you with one quote, one of my favorite Cornel West quotes: "Justice is what love looks like in public." Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Arnie Duncan, and I'm sorry for not being able to join you in person, but I'm so honored to speak with you as you map out the very real and measurable ways that school counselors can improve college access for all of our nation's students. The work you're doing is absolutely vital to ensuring that our nation's young people have an opportunity to pursue higher education as a gateway to the middle class. It's also instrumental to achieving President Obama's goal of reclaiming our place as the nation with the world's highest proportion of college graduates. Yet, according to this year's federal civil rights data collection project, 1 in 5 American high schools lacks a school counselor. To me, that's unacceptable. And it's also alarming, considering the pivotal role that counselors play in helping our most vulnerable students to navigate the college admissions and career preparation landscape. Put very simply, as a country, we can't meet the rigorous demands of the 21st century unless all of our students receive the support that they need to reach their highest aspirations. And that is why all of you are here today, to help all of our nation's children to achieve their dreams. Our administration is passionate about the issues of college access and completion. Through efforts like the First Lady's Reach Higher initiative and other programs, we're working harder than ever to fulfill our obligation to all of our students as they prepare to compete and compete successfully in today's global economy. With your help and hard work and leadership and the help of school counselors around the country, we absolutely can fulfill this obligation to our nation's children. Thank you so much for your hard work, your commitment, your dedication, and all of your efforts to secure a bright future for our country.
So we wanted to show that again because I want to tell you a little story. We didn't have really our speaker ready for the 8:15, 8:30 block. And by the way, if you've noticed the morning break, we're not breaking at 8:45. I don't know, you just make mistakes sometimes in the program. So we're right on target. So we didn't have it yet, and we knew it would come to us. And we didn't know if a speaker would emerge from the first day because during our open space conversations, we thought, you know, what's meant to be is meant to be. And if something emerges that needs to be said at this time, it will. And then last week, I was in Georgia. Where's our Georgia team? There they are over there. And I had the privilege of keynoting their conference, which had almost 900 school counselors. Unbelievable. And as I sat on the stage and I heard John Barge, the state superintendent of Georgia Department of Education, speak, I immediately said, that's it, he's speaking. That's the one. I knew it would come. We didn't know when the miracle would happen. We didn't know, but I believed somebody would rise, and it was him. I said, he has to speak. So I showed you the Arnie Duncan video again to put us in the space of the state superintendent of public instruction's role in this work. And the work he's doing in Georgia is a model for us all, and I invited him to speak today, and he said, absolutely. He was here already. And so we please welcome John Barge, State Superintendent, Georgia Department of Education.
Thank you all very much. It's an honor to be here, and I'm sorry I'm going to keep this water up here. Probably the last week, 2 weeks, I had the worst cold of my life, and I'm better, but my voice still hasn't recovered completely. And the Georgia folks know it because I could barely speak at their conference, so I'm improved, but not all the way. I'm going to turn this on because I might like to walk around. Can you make this live? Is this working? Can you hear it? Okay. I might want to walk around a little bit when I talk. But I want to tell you a little bit about my background. It was a miracle that I'm here today because I was actually in San Diego with Secretary Duncan just this past week at the Council of Chief State School Officers Annual Policy Forum. So that meeting actually ended on Saturday. I have another meeting to be at tomorrow in D.C., and so this fit very nicely right in the middle. And so it worked out. It was a complete miracle that I was able to do this. But by trade, I'm an educator. I taught high school English, was a high school assistant principal, high school principal, career technical education director for a school district, career technical education director for the state. And it was during that time that I began to see the policy-making side and the political side of education. And in Georgia, the state school superintendent is actually an elected position. It's elected by popular vote. So I started thinking then, it would really make sense for the superintendent, who is really kind of the chief policy person for the state, that they've been in a school. And they've been a leader, so that they understand how their policies impact children. because bottom line, that's why we're all in this profession. It's not to get our summers off, because Lord knows we don't get our summers off. And the pay is just incredible, right? So it's the impact that policies have on children. And so, you know, I'm finishing up my 4-year term as superintendent. I'm not coming back. I'm sorry, Georgia folks. I love my job and I love what I do. But the folks in Georgia know that I actually ran for governor to really challenge our current governor and bring education to the forefront of the discussion, because we'd so underfunded education in the state of Georgia in the last 4 years, over $4 billion cut from public education. Disastrous effects across the state. And so I really wanted to force that conversation. I knew it was a long shot, but the bottom line was, in my opinion, it was really what was best for kids, was to force the conversation around education and bring it to the forefront. So I didn't win, and so I'm not coming back as superintendent either. Don't know what my plans are yet, so who does? Get with me afterwards, because I don't know. Okay. All right. I put together a little something that this is hypothetical, but it's really reality. You start your day with Julie, who comes in and needs to see you. She reveals to you that she's pregnant, and she begins to weep and sob because she's terrified of talking with her parents. And she doesn't know what this is going to bring for her future. She doesn't know what options are out there for her. She doesn't know what impact this will have on her life, and she needs to talk. So you sit down with Julie, and you're talking, and she's going through the tissues, and you're interrupted by the class change bell. And your principal comes by your office and says, "Get to your duty station." And so you hop up, you leave Julie, and you go and you are at your duty station watching the students. No PDA, stop that, you know. The bell rings. You come back to your office. You sit down to begin to talk with Julie again. Miss Jones comes in. She has an emergency. She has a referral for you to the Department of Family and Children's Services for a suspected case of child abuse. She has a child in her classroom with bruises, and so that interrupts what you do, and that's about 2 hours of your day of making phone calls, interviewing students, filling out forms, going through the bureaucracy of making a referral. So you're sitting down, you're doing that. Sam comes in. Sam wants to know if you've finished his reference letter for his scholarship application, because it's due at the close of business day. Come on, I gave it to you yesterday. Julie is still sitting here, and she has started her second box of tissues. And the bell rings again. And you realize you just missed your lunch. And you're about to be late to your 5th period class that you've been assigned to teach this year due to budget cuts and the laying off of teachers. So, as you're teaching about, since we're from Georgia, Sherman's March to the Sea, the burning of Atlanta during the Civil War, you realize that your students are going to have to pass an end-of-course test in U.S. history at the end of this class. And it dawns on you that with the new teacher evaluation system, a significant part of your performance evaluation will be based on how well they do on this assessment. You pause and you ask yourself, why am I teaching about the Civil War when Julie is in my office waiting for me to do what I was trained to do, counsel. The bell rings, you rush back to your office, and you breathe a sigh of relief because Julie is still patiently waiting for you. As you begin to talk with Julie again and the tears begin to flow, the tissues come out, the sheriff's department shows up with DFACs to pick up the child that you referred to them earlier in the day. So you put Julie on hold again, you shift gears, you deal with the emotional needs of another student, and you take care of that situation. As you're seeing DFACs out the door, the bell rings again. We're like Pavlov's dog. I mean, our whole lives run by bells. And that bell ends the school day. And Julie eases past you and she whispers goodbye as she hesitantly walks to catch her bus. You go to your office and you close the door and you sit down and you begin to sob because you know that Julie needed you and you were unable to provide for her that day what you needed to. And you realize that just 3 years ago, there were 2 other counselors in your suite that were helping you do all that you did today. And you wonder to yourself, how can I possibly meet the personal, social, emotional, academic, and career counseling needs of over 600 students? Because you're the only counselor. Your thoughts are cut short by your assistant informing you that you're late for your afternoon staff meeting, where you're responsible for training teachers in test security and logistics. By the time you fight rush hour traffic and get home, it's 6 p.m., you prepare dinner, feed your family, help with homework, and get your children off to bed. You get your household prepared for the next morning and fall into bed around 11 p.m. if you're lucky, only to have your alarm clock rattle you awake at 4 a.m. to start it all over again. This was a completely hypothetical scenario that I made up. I put students' names in there, but more than likely, a majority of you have experienced this. And I feel like that you should all have Wonder Woman and Superman outfits because that's what you do. I want to speak just for a few more minutes from the perspective of a state school superintendent, a parent, and a former teacher and principal and a district leader. I forgot to tell you, I'm a parent. I have an amazing daughter who just graduated high school, and she is a freshman in college. My wife and I have been married for 23 years, and that's our family. It's just our one daughter, and she's awesome. But one responsibility that I have as in my current role as state school superintendent is reviewing requests from local school districts for waivers from state board policy and rule. So, I told you earlier, I don't know about the impact that the downturn in the economy had in your state, but it was horrible in Georgia. Over $4.5 billion just in the last 4 years. Over $8 billion since 2003. That impact has been huge. Over 9,000 teachers have lost their jobs. Out of 183 school districts last year, over 2/3 of them cut their school calendars below 180 days of school. They couldn't afford to keep their doors open. I had school districts, I went into one school in rural South Georgia during the day, it's elementary school, the lights were turned off. They couldn't afford to pay their power bill. They were doing everything they could do to stay afloat. But what a lot of our policymakers and legislators didn't realize in Atlanta is there's another state outside of Atlanta. And in rural Georgia, they don't have the capacity to make up for the state budget cuts that a metro Atlanta area has. They've got a large tax base, and they have property taxes, and they can do all kinds of things to make up for the shortfall, and many of them did. But in rural Georgia, we had some school districts that their school calendars were 144 days. How do you expect, and counselors, that was an afterthought. So states, in order to cut those calendars, because it's set in law what your school calendar is, the instructional day, the number of minutes are in state board policy, you have to ask for waivers. You have to, if you're going to go above maximum class size, you have to ask for a waiver of this to the state board. The superintendent makes a recommendation to the state board to approve those or not. Out of necessity, we've had to approve those. I don't like it, but it's a matter of, do they keep their doors open or not? There was one waiver in the last 4 years that I dug my heels in, and I said, no, we will not approve that waiver. And that was a school district that had 9 elementary schools. Of the 9, 3 of them had free or reduced lunch rates over 86%, and they wanted to eliminate all of their elementary school counselors. And guys, you know as well as I do that those formative years are critically important. One of the reasons why I'm so passionate is I remember my formative years. And those late elementary years were really tough. I had a dad that was a severe alcoholic. He was abusive. There was a lot of domestic violence in the home. And long about my 5th grade year, he just disappeared. And so, I have 4 older brothers, big family. Mom working 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet, taking 5 kids to her job with her on Saturdays. And so when I got into middle school, we had these guidance counselors. And I found myself in this support group of children of divorced parents. Well, I couldn't understand why I was in this support group of divorced parents, because my parents weren't divorced. We just didn't know where Dad was. But it really started a relationship. And I didn't stay in that group, and Dad came back, and, things got better for a little while. And he died when I was 18. He drank himself to death. But that role of the school counselor is so critical, because our children today, kids are kids, but our kids today are dealing with a lot of stuff that when we were kids, we didn't deal with. There weren't that many kids in the support group of divorced parents. But now you probably need a support group for kids of 2 parents, because it's more unusual to have a 2-parent home. And so while kids are still kids, the challenges that they face are different, and you're having to constantly retool and readjust and work with children who were born addicted to meth or alcohol, fetal alcohol, and all the things that come along with that. So eliminating counselors, my Lord, was Maslow's hierarchy of needs just something really nice that we learned in our colleges of education? There's a news flash to lawmakers, to administrators. Not all administrators understand the work you do. Here's the news flash. Kids aren't going to care about algebra or Shakespeare if they're worried about, are they going to eat when they get home? Do they know where they're going to sleep tonight? And are my parents or guardians going to sell me for sex when I get home? We have a huge issue in this country and in Atlanta with human sex trafficking, especially with our young kids. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that's really important. and teachers can't do it all by themselves. We need counselors that can pull those young people in and help them find the resources they need to meet those very basic life needs, so they do care about algebra and Shakespeare. I told you that my daughter graduated this past May. Her high school had over 600 students, and they had one counselor. They had two before she got there, but with the budget cuts, one of them was eliminated. So as a superintendent and a former principal, I know that one counselor cannot meet all of the needs of those 600 kids. As a parent, I was thankful for what little time she could spend with my daughter. But I knew that there was a whole lot more that could have been done. I'm not faulting her. She doesn't have the time. My daughter was fortunate that she had parents that knew how to fill out a FAFSA form. And they knew how to use the technology. And they knew how to go online. And they knew how to monitor. They knew how to complete college applications. And they could help. A lot of kids don't have that. And I felt really badly for that counselor because she didn't have the time she needed to do all that she was expected to do. When are we as policymakers going to realize the critical role that counselors play in the success of the individual child and the school? You want to improve high school graduation rates? You want to improve college and career readiness levels of your high school graduates? You want to improve the college going rate? That's what we're talking about. You want to improve college completion rates? You want to reduce unemployment? You want to address the skills gaps in your communities? You want to increase economic development in your communities and your state? Then we have to stop cutting off our noses to spite our face. We must invest in counselors. And I'm not just talking about money for more, even though that's a really good beginning. But we're talking about other investments. We're talking about investments in professional development, investments in our counselor preparation programs. We're talking about protecting counselors' time. You know, our bodies are made up of various members. We have arms and legs and eyes and ears, noses, hearts. It's not possible, really, for your body to work as efficiently as it was created to work. For your arms to say to your legs, we don't need you. Your eyes to say to your ears, I don't need you. We can get along just fine. Similarly, our schools are made up of various members: teachers, administrators, cafeteria workers, janitors, secretaries, and counselors. None of them can say to the other, we don't need you. Because the school body won't function as efficiently as it can and it was designed to function. The work of school counselors is too critical to be an afterthought in our district and state budgets and strategic plans. And I want to close by, by making a plea and calling on policymakers and budget planners across the country to begin looking at counselors as vital members of an effectively operating school body and treat them as such. Budget appropriately. Protect counselors' time. If you don't have money,
as a principal, guard that counselor's time. Don't have them doing things they weren't trained to do. You have assistant principals. Let your assistant principal build your master schedule. Have your assistant principal be in charge of testing. It can be done. I did it that way. So I'm calling on, you guys may or may not know, but right now, Congress is looking at reauthorizing the federal Perkins legislation. Perkins is how we fund career and technical education. I would like to ask Congress and the President, as we look towards reauthorizing Perkins, increase funding in Perkins legislation so that we fund a credentialed career counselor at every high school in this country. Our post-secondary institutions need it, our businesses and industries need it, and our communities need it to address the skills gaps that we have. Ultimately, our economy needs it. Now, why is it important to have Perkins money do that? Because you know as well as I do, when federal dollars come and those dollars allow for positions, those job descriptions get very specific. And that would prevent, if we were able to get together and we were able to write those job descriptions, we could prevent those counselors from being pulled off to administer tests or to build schedules, and we could protect and guard their time so that they are focused on doing what they're there to do. That could also free up, if you have an additional career counselor at your school, it could free you up to do some of the things that you need to do as well. So those are my remarks. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. The work that you all do is utterly amazing. I don't know how you do it every day. I think you're probably one of the unsung heroes in your schools because you're kind of the jack of all trades. We kind of joked yesterday. We have the catch-all drawer at home, where things that really don't have a place, they get thrown in the catch-all drawer. That's how we've treated counselors. You're the catch-all. There's no place for it, let the counselor do it. The counselor doesn't have a class, let the counselor do it. We have to protect your time because you're critical in the improvement of student achievement and our schools overall. Thank you very much.
Don't think you're going to have any difficulty finding something to do January 1st. We've adopted you permanently. I'm going to introduce to you Catalina Cifuentes. Catalina Cifuentes came to one of my trainings a few years ago. You know, you train a lot of people in data, and you hope that they go back and they can use it and make a difference. And they try, and we want to do it, but you know what? Sometimes things get in the way. Catalina went back, and she did something. And not only that, she's now teaching others how to do it. She's going to share with you her work, her results, and the kind of things that can be done when you use data. Catalina.
Hi, good morning. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm so excited to be here. I still feel like it's a dream. It's a dream for me because just 5 years ago, I was pink slipped twice as a school counselor. And I was told that in my district, the stakeholders felt out of all the things they could keep, we were not a closed fist. We were an open hand. And we lost some counselors. Fear of leaving, fear of losing their job, they left to other districts. And we scrambled and we were devastated because our day was just like this amazing state superintendent from Georgia said. That is a typical day for a school counselor where we're in Riverside County. So we decided, you know what, we looked, we evaluated, we said, you know what, we understand why. we weren't showing what we were doing. We were so busy scrambling, working in our silos, we weren't showing what the capabilities and the possibilities we could do. Now, Trish is right. 5 years ago, when all this was going on, we had the amazing opportunity, that miracle that she speaks of, to meet her and to get to work with her and understand the power of data. We weren't strategic. We weren't all on the same page. We were working in silos. So here's a little bit about Riverside County, the county that I work for. We have over 34,000 seniors currently right now. We serve 23 districts. 63% of our students are on free and reduced lunch. We have 21% English learners, and a fact that we just found out recently, we're one of the lowest areas that have adult residents with post-secondary degrees. We're about an hour and a half away from here. So this is what we have. Our mission is that all students will graduate from high school well prepared for college and the workforce. But our districts, we're working separately. And our goal is to try to bring us together as one county for our students. So, as a counselor at Santiago High School, pink slipped, we said, you know what, we're going to show them what we can do. We're going to work together collaboratively. We're going to find that balance of social, emotional, and show we're also college and career readiness counselors. You see, we have a school of 4,000 students at Santiago. My caseload was close to 600. I had close to 600 students. So as a teacher, because I was a teacher once, I had about 220, and it was hard to make connections. But here I was now with 600, and I had to make connections. What I would do is I would go back to my upbringing. I'm first in the family, my family to go to college. I'm Latina, first in my family, very proud. And part of why I'm there is because of a wonderful woman named Wanda Schneider, who was my avid teacher. She was my avid teacher, and she stopped me, and she saw something within me and said, you know what, you can do more. And when I didn't want to take geometry again, she made me, and she pushed me. She inspired me. The avid program changed my life. And my avid counselor, my avid teacher went on to be an avid counselor and went on, and I said, that's what I want to do. And so she's an amazing woman, and she's my inspiration. So we draw that together, and we said we have to work together as a unit. When we looked at our senior class, 800 and some seniors, we had about a 91% graduation rate back in 2006. And people said, that's pretty good. For a school like ours, that means 80 students were leaving our doors without a high school diploma. We said no. So what we did is we got together and we went after it, and we're what we call relentless. We're relentless school counselors. So we went after it, and we, as the last 2 years in a row, we are finishing at 99.7% graduation rate. Thank you. The Santiago High School counselors are relentless. We only had 2 non-grads. Both of those students were special education students that decided to stay a 5th year, and we welcome that. But we went after it because we were not. One student was one too many. We stopped working in our office with our caseload, and we came together as a group and said, these are our kids. If you have a non-grad, that's my non-grad. And we started working with our administration. Our administration started to see, you know what, they're producing data. They did that group, that emotional group, and they brought this data of improvement in grades, and they brought us to the big table. And I say the big table because when I get nervous, I channel my Dr. Joyce Brown. Catalina, you better get to that big table discussion. And that's what I did. We got to be at that big table, guys. We can't be afraid. So another thing is we pushed for was college preparatory courses. Now, in the state of California, unfortunately, the minimum requirements to attend a state university are not our graduation requirements. It depends on the state, the school district, the county, down to the administration at one particular site. So we went after these requirements and said, we need to what I call it, Avidize our school. And what Avid does is provides access and opportunity for all students. We need to Avidize and provide this for all of our students. So in California, we call them the UC A through G requirements in California. So the minimum requirements to be eligible for one of our state school universities. We started off with 33.9%. Now, we're a school that people say, oh, Santiago High School, you're in an affluent neighborhood, and I'm thinking, and we're only preparing 33.9%. So we went after this, not saying that every student has to attend a 4-year college, but every student in our school deserves the access and the opportunity to. And why wouldn't we want that? Why wouldn't we want our students that plan to go to the military to take Algebra 2 or pre-calculus? Or our students who are going to go into a career technical program to receive 4 years of science? Why wouldn't we want that for our students? So when we push that, it's not to say they're all going to UCLA, but if they choose to, they have the opportunity to. And if they go to the military to defend us someday, they're well prepared. So what we finished off is we pushed and we normed and we worked together as a team. And we used data to drive our ship. And we were able to finish up with 75.9% of our students are on track for A through G requirements. Thank you. Thank you. So now we came to advanced placement data. College Board has told us if they take one class, they're 20% more likely, one AP class, to actually finish their degree. So we said, all right, guys, the 9 of us, let's get together, let's go for it, let's push AP enrollment. So we used AVID as one of our groups, as a support system. Why are we going to look to something new or something great, something that's been around for 30 years, something that changed my life? We looked to AVID, and we were able to show increasement in AP enrollment from 1,683 sections to 2,148. Now, this is not students, but actual sections of enrollment in AP coursework. And we got together and we broke down those stereotypes of AP, and we pushed. Now, I'm going to say the big part of this was also the leadership. The 9 of us couldn't do it alone. We had an amazing school principal by the name of Reggie Tompkins that let us come to that big table and said, all right, guys, let's do this together. We have to work together with administration. We cannot work alone. Thank you. So we saw, and people said, you're pushing these students too hard. They can't do it. You're asking too much. We have some of our students, we have anyone from students whose parents make over $300,000 a year to students that get bussed in, and when I've done home visits, they're taking electricity from the neighbor with an extension cord. I mean, the range of students we have at our school. But what we found is when we pushed and we challenged them and we motivated them, they rose. They rose to the challenge. So when we started to track our social emotional data and we started to look at our suspensions, what an amazing byproduct of pushing our students. We went from 492 suspensions to 159. Our kids were too busy in AP classes. They had no time to get in trouble. Way too busy. So it was amazing to see the culture on our school shift. So then I was given the challenge. I love school counseling. I was given the challenge, the opportunity actually, and to come to the Riverside County Office of Ed and say, you know what, will you be willing to come work with the AVID programs and maybe work a little bit with school counselors and do some school counseling activities? And I thought, I love students. And I said, if I can be with the students still, if I could be on campus, not just a one-day training at the county office, but be in the trenches with the school counselors, be in the trenches with the AVID coordinators, then I'll do it. I'll come. And so I as much as I'm nervous, channeled to Dr. Joyce Brown, big table. Catalina, this is the county office. You can really speak for AVID and for school counselors. So I took the position at the county office. So first month there it was, can you duplicate Santiago? Can you duplicate? Do you think this can be done? Do you think it was just an isolated event? And I said, you know what, we're going to try. So I collaborated with Mark Lenore, who's also here. Mark, if you can raise your hand in case people have questions. Mark, where you stepped out, he's in the back. I collaborated with Mark Lenore, who's our principal in residence, and together we are going around the county to help school counselors and administration understand our role and what we can do if we are allowed and we're empowered. So one of the first districts I'm working with is Merida Valley Unified School District. Myself and Mark are collaborating with their district office, and it's the amazing things that are happening in these schools I could go all day and talk about. I'm just going to isolate it to a little bit of what Trish's like me to cover when it comes to college and career readiness. So Merida Valley is about an hour from here. They are going after it like no other. Relentless school counselors, relentless school leadership. So looking at their A through G completion rate, they started with 32.3%, and they're working and they're plugging. But we came together as a district, not as one school, but as a district, and said, what are we going to do as a district for students and for kids? And we helped them identify students that they were not tapping to their potential through our A through G audit. where we audit every single student and said, look at their test scores, look at their AP potential from PSAT, they can do these courses. And so we're happy to say they're projected right now to increase at their first high school, Merida Valley High School, 65.3% from 55.3%. So projected meaning they are now enrolled in the right classes. They are now receiving support. We are now strategic. Every counselor can say, I have this many students on my caseload that are A through G eligible. I have down to picking a right teacher for Algebra 2 for seniors. Strategically going after it, not just showing up. So they're working together as a school district for their school counselors. So they're projected at 65.3%. Merida Valley, Vista Merida High School, they're projected to go from 52.6% to 66.2%. Now, Trish stopped me this morning. She said, Catalina, I want you to explain projected. Projected, like I said, means they are enrolled in the courses. Now, EdSource did a study on students that are missing A through G classes, and they say that 26% of our students in California miss it by 2 classes or more. No Spanish 2, no Algebra 2. 1 class, 2 classes, and now they're no longer eligible for a university if they choose. So, for example, Vista Marietta counselors, they want to keep that 66.2%, every single student. This past Saturday, they hosted a Saturday intervention for over 400 students. Saturday intervention, they said, we're not losing one, Catalina. I said, all right, relentless school counselors. They're not losing one. They're working with their students this Saturday and getting them the support they need because they encourage them. You can do it, you can do Algebra 2. And then they step back and they said, oh my God, we have to make sure we support them. So that's what they're doing. They're working to support them. Merida Mesa projected to go from 46.6% to 64.4%. Okay. Then they said, all right, can we do it at a low-income poverty school? Can we do it at a school in our county that has a lot of students in need? And so we went to work with Val Verde Unified, where over 80% of their students are on free and reduced lunch. 80%. And this is, we're talking within 30 minutes of each other. And so could we do it? Sure. Mark and I went in and we worked with their administration and we worked with their school counselors. And sometimes it was simple modeling. Remember I said earlier, I didn't want to just do a training. I wanted to be in there with them. Some of them never received professional development. They don't even get to go to the free conferences sometimes because they need to be on the school site for duty or for PSAT proctoring. And they didn't get to leave. They just needed some support and some information and some help. So Rancho Verde High School is Val Verde Unified, and they are over 70% free and reduced lunch. They are projected to have 63.4% of their students are on track right now to complete their A through G requirements. I know it's exciting. So excited for them. Citrus Hill, 71% free and reduced lunch. Citrus Hill has about almost 500 in their senior class. They went for it. They pushed, and they said, you know what, from administration, principal, we are going to, as a school, as teachers, come together with school counselors and be relentless for our students. They're projected right now, 71.8% of their seniors are enrolled in the A through G requirement classes. It's amazing. And they're over 70% free and reduced lunch. So to just give you a little idea, these are 5 of the schools sampling of what can be done with the power of a school counselor. What school counselors can do when we come together. We don't work in our offices as silos. We don't worry just about our caseloads. We worry about all kids in our school, and our district, and in our county. And the work Mark and I are doing together is empowering for our students. And our students, as you can see from the first slide, they need it. Our families need it. I needed it. Avid and a school counselor and a school teacher helped eliminate poverty in my life. So in closing, there's so many things we can do, but we must work together. We cannot no longer compete for the sake of our students. We can compete on the sports team, on the field, but not when it comes to our students and our children. So one of the initiatives we're working on, besides push and catching those students that are missing it by 2, is we're launching our FAFSA Race to Submit. This is our logo. We're excited. And the reason being is we only had, as I showed you earlier, about 40% of our students submitting their FAFSA, yet over 60% of them are on free and reduced lunch. And Mark and I, we looked at each other and said, what are we doing? At minimum, we got to catch those kids that get it all covered. What are we doing? So we're launching our Race to Submit, and we're asking all of our 23 of our districts to improve their FAFSA completion rate by 10%. Now, from the data that I showed you earlier, I know they're going to do beyond that. They're relentless school counselors, and I'm so proud of each and every single one of them. I do want to recognize 2 representatives from Merida Valley Unified that are also here. So if Mary Walters and Dean Lasico could please stand. There are Merida Valley. Thank you. School counseling coordinator, and Mary Walters is our director in Merida Valley Unified, and she is, both of them together, they're that relentless leadership that we need. The 8 of us, the 9 of us at Santiago High School, we had our ideas and we had our dreams, but we had to be at that big table. We had to be, we had to have opportunities for professional development. We had to have a system of support. And more importantly, we had to have empowerment to be innovators. To get that data, I could tell you stories of what we had to do to inspire and motivate our students. So in closing, I'm honored to be here, coming from a pink slip 5 years ago to now seeing a school counselor next to a White House symbol. It's an amazing feeling. So what I do is, I'm tired, we're going crazy, but okay, what would Trish Hatch do? Get her energy? It's time to go. It's hot and we have to run with it. So thank you so much, and thank you for being here for our students.
Gosh.
Don't, you're gonna make me cry.
I sit here and I think, wow, somebody was gonna pink slip her. So she didn't get to change one school, and she's changing thousands of students, hundreds of thousands of students' lives. You're amazing.
Oh, thank you.
You're a model.
Thank
you. That's why we're here. This is what we believe in. This is what we want to see happen for every child, every district in the country, every state in the country. I think we got the right people in the room. We're so excited for what you're going to bring back to your states, your communities, your school districts. We're about to move into your time to go back to your teams, to take everything you did yesterday, all the planning, all the roundtables, all of the conversations that you had, and be able to plan in your teams. And so we're hoping, we had a little bit of an issue, we know, yesterday with the classrooms and having enough room in the classes. So what we'd like to ask today, if your team can stay in this room, if you can fit around a table here, if you would please stay in this room during the team planning time. However, we know there are some teams that are really large and they may need another room. So what we would like to ask, Denise, are you in the room with us? Oh, come on up. So folks, Denise has been behind the scenes. And you have not seen her very much, but Denise saved our lives. She has been, yes, please. Denise and her team put together so much of the organization and literally came in at the last minute when we felt like we're not going to get all of this done, and just took over the organization of everything. So we're just very, very grateful for all of your work. What we'd like to ask you to do, if your team would like another room, please send a representative. Where are you going to stand?
In front of the info table.
In front of the info table, one rep for your team to go and talk to Denise. We will assign you a room, and our graduate students will take your team to that room. So we're going to go ahead and have team time. Trish, where are you?